Hopefully my voice will be picked up. But I just got back from running not too long ago, and I figured I'd make a video on things I've learned. Um, and these are things that I've had to learn the hard way. Um, I haven't really had a good teacher that told me different things. There's been a lot of things that have been hidden from us, and things that I've had to learn in order to um, keep up with different things. But there's a whole lot. So just stay with me, um, but just go to God in prayer. Ask Him for guidance, and I ask Him for guidance and discernment, and for everyone watching this video that they may understand it and discern it, and ask for more wisdom and be guided by you, Yahweh. So just please guide everyone and help all those that are listening, because I am your servant, and I pray that they may have a heart for you and repent and turn away from the ways that they're not supposed to be going. So thank you, Lord. Okay. Hopefully my speaker is working. I have never tried this on my phone that I have now. But here goes. This is my dog, by the way. This is my dog, Tobias. He's a little on the tired side. I just took him for a run. But one thing I've learned is to forgive everyone. Don't hold grudges. Don't be bitter. Live in harmony with everyone. No joking or jesting or pranking. God wants you to be truthful and honest. There should be no words that are derogatory. We are here to help people, not put them down. We are here to treat them with respect. I know this is easier said than done. There's times when I lose my top, and like right now, I'm battling situations where I try to forgive someone, and then a new battle with the same person comes up. And then I forgive them again, and another battle comes up. So it's an ongoing process. And yes, you're going to have people that keeps hitting your buttons and keeps doing things that you don't want them to do. But we're supposed to forgive. God says flatly, forgive everyone. And it doesn't just mean your neighbors or your people around you. It means if you blow up on something on TV, like our current administration or supposed leaders, we need to forgive everyone. They all have their challenges. They all have to face the Creator one day. One day we're going to all appear before God, and we're going to have to tell Him why we thought certain things or did certain things, or there's nothing that is hidden that won't be revealed in that time. Okay, so on to the next one. Do not steal from bosses, family, friends, or anyone. And that means anything. It means pens. It means ideas that they had that you took from them. It means, and I've been guilty, and I've had to get rid of this, but I took programs that they have done in the past, and I didn't see any harm in it. It's like, okay, it's on their database, and I'm just going to use it for educational purposes, but you're not supposed to steal anything, and you need to make sure that you're repenting all of it. If you have in the past asked for forgiveness from them, or if you can't go and ask for forgiveness from that person, then take it to God and say, well, I don't know where they are or how to get a hold of them, but I forgive them. This also applies to taking something that is not yours, such as info, pics, rocks, fossils, furs, and so on, claiming they are yours. If you are violating any earthly law, and I don't know, there's some laws that in the olden days, if if people of old had followed, then that is one that has been very difficult as of lately, because right now, current people are demanding that we get a certain something put in our arm. So um, and I think people of God have to go to God about this and ask Him what to do. But we're not supposed to take anything. And picks, even though they may be great, they may be of something that you want. I have read things in Deuteronomy and olden things that clearly say that idols can be engraven images and images on the wall. And we've taken it to a whole new level. We are doing selfies and all that, and pretend like nothing's wrong. So that's not a good thing. Um, so that's on Do Not Steal. Idols, well, we kind of talked about it, but it can be any engraven image, object, picture, an object that depicts any type of creature or living thing on this world, like a deer. um, if we have trophies, those are all considered idols. Um, Anything that you put above God is considered an idol. If you worship your wife, your money, your car, your house, your dog, your cat, um, all the stuff that you have, if you put them above God, then you have a problem. I've also noticed that when I'm around these objects, I have a lot more discerning spirit. It feels like I'm being attacked a lot more when I'm, because I know that the stuff around me, that sometimes demons can hide in these objects, especially if they're of certain holidays, namely like Ishtar, Saturnalia, Valentine's Day. All these they are Baal or Lucifer made holidays. Look up the origins of all of our man-made holidays, and you'll find out that all of them have demonic undertones and are to certain people. And and a lot of them go back to Nimrod and Tammuz um, and just a lot of demonic things. Like Halloween goes back to the Druid festival of All Hallows Eve, and it's extremely demonic. The interesting thing is, as I was born on Halloween, it is one of the most cursed nights of all. And we're not supposed to have any type of food of any of these celebrations, because a lot of that food is cursed by the Satan religion. What they do is they curse all of the candy and anything associated with these holidays, witches and everything else. You can look it up. There are Satanists and other things, or former Satanists, and they'll tell you flat out that these things are cursed. So, but yes, I'm still learning. Please watch your idols. I'm not saying get rid of your car. It's just make sure that um, that you're not putting so much priority and emphasis on it that it becomes I guess, a miniature god, if you will. So, so yeah. um, and another thing I've learned is to look God for direction. And He wants to be included in your daily life, and this includes decisions and questions that you have of your life. He wants to be a part of your life. He wants to guide you and show you which way to go. And He's not going to force you to come to Him and go, hey, you need to do so and so and go this way or that way. I mean, He's willing to allow you to go off road and go to where you're not supposed to go, and then that's when we're supposed to call on Him and say, hey, well, I messed up. This doesn't look like the right way, and He will lovingly put you back on the right road. And that's what it says in Psalms. It says it all throughout the Bible, that we can go off track, and we do go off track with sins and with how we live our lives. And there's so many distractions nowadays, it's ridiculous. I mean, from sporting games to, I mean, we've created so many different sports on all kinds of things. And then we have gadgets and gizmos and iPads and iPhones and iPods. And I mean, just it goes on and on and on and on and on. And there's so many games. I've tried to give as many of these objects up as I can, and found out the more I give up, the easier my life that I can attach to God. So, and God, I think it's John 6, where it says that our life, the work of our life, is to have a intimate relationship with God's only son, or Yahweh's only son, which is Yeshua, or I've heard and seen different pronunciations of it, but that's the Hebrew name of Jesus, which was called Iesus in 1600s. So I just feel better when I call him by his Hebrew name. Um, it's been changed, and I would rather look at the original writings and figure out what. And that's another thing I've learned is to look at our what we're given in the Bible, and look at the Dead Sea Scrolls and see the original meanings of the words, and not just to trust someone's translation of it. But I look at a lot of different translations and ways of interpreting the same passage, so I'm not missing something. And I also ask for discernment on what I read. So that's always. But God wants to be a part of your life. He wants you to praise Him. He wants you to worship Him. He wants you to be in His Word and doing what you need to do. So, all right. Another thing that I've learned, the feasts in the Bible should actually be celebrated and do what they say. There are certain pieces like sacrificial sacrifices and that type of thing on altars and other things. It's hard to do that and that is kind of when Jesus came along, or Yeshua. That kind of, he was the sacrificial, or it says that he was the sacrificial lamb, and that he became our once and for all sacrifice. So sacrifices stopped at that point. But we should have the feast. So there's, coming up in the fall, we have the Feast of Trumpets that's about to happen in like mid-September, and then you have the Feast of Atonement and the Feast of Tabernacles. And those are all festivals. I would encourage you to look them up and look at the ancient ways that they were done. So yeah. And even it says when you're doing the feast that we will be blessed in them, that there's reasons why God does it. I mean, he from what I've seen and felt, and God has shown me that He wants to be there beside you. He wants to guide you. He wants to have that intimate relationship. He's not going to fight you for it. He wants you to just give Him the time. And if you have a family, why don't you bring the family together and, hey, we're going to study this chapter tonight, or that chapter, or we're going to sing a praise song, and then we're going to do a little reading. There's so much stuff that we could be doing, and we've filled our lives with all kinds of distractions from sports. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. Well, sports can be, and my feeling on sports is it's like gladiator games. And in the past, the former people basically had wanted nothing to do with the gladiator games. So they were completely shunned by the true people of God. Yeah. Another point that I have learned, the devil is very deceitful, and a lot of what I thought was okay was not, such as worldly TV, music, and movies. The devil is all over and working through food, clothing, and material goods to get us off track. Demons inhabit a lot of the things we see, touch, taste. Foods have a lot of chemicals and have been genetically modified. The food that we're eating has been heavily modified by DuPont and Monsanto and all these others. And there are numerous farms that have been taken over by these greedy corporations, because these are wind-driven crops, and because of the way that the plants grow, they know exactly which plants are theirs, and they basically go after farmers that are forced into their to growing their crops, because what happens is the wind disperses the seed into other farmers' fields that don't want anything to do with them. Um, and the devil has altered a lot of our perceptions of our reality and changed things and gotten rid of God completely. Like how the earth operates, if you look in the book of Enoch, you'll clearly see that the world works a lot differently. That the sun is the daylight and the moon is the nighttime. It doesn't say that it's a solid ball, and we can clearly see it, and we understand um, a lot of it. But I think the way that we're seeing things is different. And I've come to question NASA. If you notice the red, it's actually a viper tongue. And if you notice the different videos, if you look up old NASA videos of, a lot of flat earth, and I'm not saying I'm a flat earther, but there are a lot of videos that have like bubbles floating through their screen, or they show a, what are those things called? A air tank, supposedly floating through space. Air tanks are underwater, not in space. They can manipulate a lot, so just be very cautious. And demons are more around you than you think they are. And it even says in the Bible that the spiritual world is even more there and alive than our real world that we live in. And 1/3 of the angels, and I don't know how many that was, but they've had a lot of time to populate, if you will. I think demons are able to populate and to expand their numbers, and they've had several thousand years. I don't know quite how long, because the Bible doesn't indicate how long that um, time has progressed into that. So I don't know. And the devil has manipulated a lot of the scripture that gets us to believe something not true. And I've questioned lately, if you listen to a lot of the Christian music, a lot of the Christian pastors, they've altered the words just so much, um, that that it's altered the word. Like one lyric was says, "Oh well, the cross is what saves us." Oh well, and it's like it keeps going on and on and on about the cross, and it's very deceptive, because yes, the cross was very important. However, it wasn't the cross; it was the person on the cross that shed his blood. Um, and also, think about it: if the devil truly hates all Christians, why in the world would he allow Christian music all over? I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, if you're the devil and you absolutely hate anything having to do with God and having anything having to do with all this and want everyone damned, why would you ever allow any pastor on the radio or any Christian music on the radio? So we've been deceived, and it takes a very discerning heart to look through that. Um, and what I have noticed lately, also when I'm driving down the road, I've noticed when I reconnect with God a lot more, my discernment's on a much higher level. Um, but as I go along, and if I have the radio on and turn it off, I start sighing, which means that it's kind of like a relief kind of sigh, and it happens every time I turn off the radio, which means that something is coming through the radio, demon or otherwise, that is manipulating how I think about certain things. So just be very aware of what you're feeding your mind and your heart and your soul. Um, so, yeah. And the so-called prophets that are online, well, not online, that are on TV, a lot of them are wrong. Like Joel Osteen is a prosperity gospel, which is completely wrong. It's BS. It clearly says that we don't have, for the disciples, we don't have anywhere to live, and we have to be constantly on the run, and we're constantly ridiculed and mocked. And if you're not hated, then there's something wrong. So, but just be very aware of what you listen to, and before you go trying to research and go to actual people, this is what I've also learned: go to the Bible. God will guide you to the right passage. Just flip around in there. I mean, go to Psalms, go to the Proverbs, go to the first four Gospels: John, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and get a feel for what the Word says. Don't just take someone's pastor for it. I mean, I know people like Tim Keller, Francis Chan, and others are all out there and very popular pastors, and um, I'm not ridiculing them or putting them down, but if you don't know God's original word and what He says, then you're going to be deceived, or taken down a wrong road if you're not careful. These pastors can manipulate the word, and you would be taken down the wrong way. Yes, I mean, a lot of them have really good words to say, but if they don't take sin seriously, I would go the other way very quickly. I mean, if they're like playing around with sin, saying, "Oh, well, sin's not that bad," and oh, if you do these sins, you'll be fine. It's like, no, that's not what the word says at all. Um, but always look to the Bible and check what it says. If the Bible and your preacher don't agree, then I would get the heck out of there. If someone causes you to stumble, don't hang around them. We are to preach and tell the truth to them and what they are doing. And then if they don't listen or just ignore, then walk away. If you have, this is another thing that I've learned. If you've ever broken any type of promise, you need to mend it and make them right. What I mean by this is, if you've ever said, "Hey, I'm going to be here at so and so time," or promise someone something like, "Oh, I'm going to come take you, and we're going to go for a vacation this weekend." Those are broken promises. If you've ever promised anything to God, saying, "Oh, well, I swear to blah 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 that I'm going to do this or that or the other," those are all promises and things you need to make right. If you've ever done this, and I'm guilty of it as well, and I've had to. I don't know the exact promises I've made, but I do remember like little glimpses and flashes of things that I've done in my past. When you're a kid, you're like, "Oh, well, I swear I won't do this," and you end up doing it. So, I remember when I was in kindergarten, or not even kindergarten, when I've sworn different things. So yeah. Um, yeah, you need to always make sure your yes is a yes and no is a no. No lying, cheating, stealing. Don't harbor bitterness. Don't do anything against the Bible. And that's not just Old Testament. To love your neighbor as yourself means to treat them the way you want to be treated. And that means not just your neighbor. Not just your good neighbor, but also your bad neighbor. If there's a person that gets on your bad side and blah, 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 you need to forgive them. If you're at war over a neighbor, try to find some common ground and try to work things out. Sometimes it can be really difficult. Sometimes there can be people that kind of push your buttons, and that's you just have to ask God for help. If there's a way that you can move away from the situation, I would do it. But don't be around people that are going to constantly knock you down and make you feel badly. However, there are certain times when God allows, and it happened with Paul's ministry too. He asked, "Can you remove this thorn from my life?" In other words, can you remove this negative situation or whatever was causing that? And God said, "No, my strength is is bigger than what you're going through, and you just need to rely on me. So sometimes God uses circumstances in order to make us better and do different things. Um, this is another thing I've learned. We are accountable for every word, action, and the way we live. So do not curse or cause others to stumble. We are to live humbly and in harmony as much as we can, living in truth and doing what God says in the Bible. Um, I know this is very hard. But we are accountable for everything we do. If we curse someone, if we try to run someone over, if we flick off someone because they tried to take our spot or did whatever, we need to. It's all right to be angry in the moment. Yes, I've had numerous people try to run me over, including a cop. I had a cop rear-end me. That was interesting, but but yes, you're supposed to. It's okay to be angry for a little bit, and if you need help forgiving someone, then ask God. It's like, I'm having a really hard time forgiving so and so because it's an everyday thing, and I just need help with this. So God can help you out. Just go to Him. And another thing, and I think it's somewhere in Malachi where it talks about tithing, and it says, "How have we stolen from you?" And it says that you stole from me through your tithes and offerings. In tithes and offerings, the storehouse is, in my opinion, good, godly, if you will, organizations that help um, people that Christians or groups of people that need help. Like Compassion International is a really good one. Samaritan's Purse is another one. Um, and if it's your local church, that's another. I would just, I mean, if you want to help the homeless person on the corner, um, I have what I've done, and yes, I know there's this whatever. Oh well, they're just gonna spend it on beer and whatever. I've seen too many videos lately that where homeless people have used it to buy food or different things for their fellow homeless people. And in the Bible, it says to tithe. Try to tithe about 10%, and if you can have more, then that's great. So, but yes, tithing is very important, and God wants you to trust Him in your finances, which is tithing. And He will bless you. He will. I've been in situations where I thought a large chunk of my money was going to tithing, and I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to do this. And God said, trust me, and I did, and I had more than enough money, and I've always had enough money and enough things in order to get me through from A to B. Um, so, and it's just basically telling God that you're not going to harbor, well, not harbor, that you're not going to withhold your funds and you're going to trust Him in everything. If you put your if you put money before things else, other things, then that's not a good thing. And the Bible says it's not all things, but it says that money is the root of some evil. It doesn't say all evil. It says some evil. It doesn't go but yeah. Um, but yes, riches can definitely get you off the path. Um, because it talks about how riches, it's harder for a rich person to go through the eye of the needle than make it to heaven. Um, so just keep that in mind and just think about it for 1 second. Um, what do you, a normal rich person, what do they rely on if things go bad? And they would rely on their money. They're like, oh, well, I can buy my way out of this. I can get a high priced lawyer and he'll get me out of this situation. It doesn't matter what it is. Or he can buy whatever off. If he wrecks something or someone, he can buy people off or buy whatever. So you're not technically relying on God, you're relying on your money to get you out of the situation. Which we see a lot of examples lately. Like O.J. Simpson was one, because he came out later and said, I killed her. That was someone that murdered someone in my past. I think that was in the 90s. But there's been others. There are clear indications that, well, actually, a lot of the celebrities, if you look at a lot of the celebrities, you'll see a lot of them have gone to jail, and yeah, and they've bought their way out. So yes, but yes, trust God in in your finances. Oh, okay, I do have the quote here. It's Malachi 3:8. Do not rob God, or it will end badly. um, um, I've already talked about festivals. Fasting. Fasting is a way of reconnecting to God, and it's your way of breaking your fleshly connection to this world, and um, basically showing God that you want Him and for Him to change things more than you want the creature comforts of this world. Fasting. At certain times of the day, fasting can be really not fun. Fasting, if you're fasting and someone else isn't in your house and they have a big juicy steak or hamburger, and you're sitting there fasting, it's a lot harder. And what I've noticed when I'm fasting or trying to fast, and what I find interesting is someone shows up with a box of donuts or something else, and you're like, "Oh, come on, really?" And you're having to sniff those donuts and going, okay, well, I'm trying to fast here and this is not helping. But in that, you can ask God for help and He'll help you. But fasting definitely, I've noticed that fasting is a really good way to just reconnect. And God, I mean, God does show up, and um, it's your way of showing God that you love Him and that you trust Him, and that you're not going to allow food to run your life. Because in my past, food has run my life, and I'll admit it, I love sweets. So yes. But yes. So yeah, watch it. But yeah, there are many types of fasts. The hardest one would be without food and water. But I've done fasts where I've just had like Gatorade, like a bottle of, or yeah, just like a liter, well, not liter, whatever those little bottles are of Gatorade, for the day, and that's what I've had to get through fasting. Another way you can do it is just have water throughout the day and just chug down water. Be aware that you will have to um, go a lot. So that is a bad thing. Um, and it's interesting to have that feeling of your stomach grumbling and have it wanting food, and you're like, well, I've got to deny myself. So and then also after a couple of days, you start getting really weird feeling. Like you'll notice that you're fatigued and tiring out a lot quicker. Um, I've gotten to the point where my mind and everything wasn't functioning properly, and it's kind of just odd. Um, but yeah, just kind of wade into it and allow God to show you what He wants of you. So another thing, God uses everyone in different ways. Everyone doesn't do everything the same. He's brought some people to teach. He's brought some people to teach. He's brought some people to talk in tongues. He's brought others to interpret those tongues. Um, but everyone has a use in the kingdom of God. Some of them are used to, they have a great voice, or they can play the piano, um, or their spirit is being used to discern what God is saying and to tell others about it. But we're to be the hands and feet of God, and we need to show it by our actions. We need to show it um, by how generous we are, or and always trying to help those around us. Just saying hi to someone, and I try to wave and just be nice. If I can, I will go out of my way to help people around me, and just give them a wave. But because there's too much evil in this world, there's just too much bad going on. So why not just try to be nice? And yeah, well, you're looking at my rapture dreams, but yes, I've had rapture dreams. Stuff I wish I had known. One thing is some of the books are interesting, like they're called sacred texts or the Apocrypha or whatever you want to call them. But they're just other books of the Bible that I have found some good points, Ecclesiasticus is one of them. Jasher, Jasher. Enoch is another. Sirach. Sirach may actually be the other term for Ecclesiasticus, but Sirach is a good one. But there are other books like the Gospel of Thomas is out there. I think it's the Gospel of Adam and Eve is pretty interesting. It shows when Adam and Eve were taken out of the garden, and God actually, and I found this out after reading that book, that God promised to basically have bring everything back into what he previously had with Adam and Eve in 5,500 years, and we're beyond 5,500 years right now. So we're on the very very edge of that time. Okay, so praying is highly important. God wants us to pray. He wants us to pray as much as we can. I've tried to pray as much as I can. There are certain people that are capable of praying for days or hours. I have not been able to successfully do that. When I pray, I try to be on my knees or completely hunched over, kind of like in a tight ball on the floor, and trying to pray. And this is another thing I've learned. God can do everything. He can heal us. He can guide us. He can do anything he wants. He can bring the rain. He can stop lightning. And it also actually says in the Bible that, I think it was when Jesus was talking, it said that you can do all these things and more if you would trust me, kind of thing. And he was talking to the disciples at the time. And basically, we majorly underestimate ourselves in how much we can do. We are capable of far more. If we would just reconnect with God, we are capable of so much more, and we are limiting God right and left. God says to trust him and he will be there for us. It says in his word that he will heal us, that he will protect us, that he will guide us and lead us, but we have to trust him. And we show that by how we lead our lives. We show it by what we do, how we act, what we eat, and how we treat others around us. And he'll help us. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. He will help us have the words for unbelievers. This is my book, by the way, of all my notes, and I have different things that God has revealed to me, and he gives it all to me. And what I find interesting is I start writing, and he gives me words of enlightenment as I go along, things that I didn't know until he revealed them to me. And I can't tell any off the top of my head, but yeah. So And it says also, another thing I've learned is to separate yourself from this world. And what I mean by that is to get away from the so-called things of this world. In other words, your iPhone, your iPad, your TVs, your movies, stuff that brings us to into the world is what we need to separate us from the world. Like the world says to celebrate beer and alcohol and sex and drugs and sports and be divided like crazy because you don't go after the Bucks, or you're a UF Gator and not an FSU fan, and that's where I am right now. But these divisions are made to divide us, and to um, if we came together and helped one another and provided for one another, we would be unstoppable. Instead, we've believed the lies of the devil and gone the complete opposite way. So that's not a good thing. Um, we need to live for Yahweh, in other words, Jesus Christ, if you want to call him that. But yeah, so God takes his word very seriously, and he is at the point where the door is closing. We are currently in the days of Noah, and very few, if anyone, is seeing it. God has led me towards like our eyes have become closed and our ears have become shut, or vice versa, and basically we are not listening to anything that God is trying to reveal through different people, and that's why I'm on here tonight, is trying to show you what different things that God has revealed to me, because these things, a lot of them I've had to learn on my own, or certain people have revealed them, um, but in order to know what things to trust and what things not to, we have to not only read our Bible and be in the Bible, but pray to God and have a discerning spirit, because there's a lot of good things out there and there's a lot of not so good things out there. So just be aware, but don't just trust a single source. I have shut off the TV, and it's television, and so it's basically telling visions, and there is programming, and they are programming us to think and be different than who God made us to be. So just think about it. And the filth that's on TV now, they're trying to push certain agendas. I've noticed that certain groups of people that are high up are pushing agendas and ways of living. Like the World Health Organization says that you will own nothing and enjoy it. And I'm hoping, well, I have a feeling this will come eventually, but I don't know how soon. But if you look at China, they have a surveillance system everywhere, and they have a social credit score that basically, if you don't do the right thing, you get knocked. And if you lose points, then you're not allowed to go to the cinemas, or you're not allowed to travel on vacation. It's insane. But that is the beast system. The beast system is here and it's being implemented now, and that's what has also been revealed to me, is the beast system is right before our eyes, and that the people that are supposedly in charge are nothing but puppets. There are people behind the scenes that are pulling the strings. Like, if you haven't known the group, Illuminati and Freemasons are two of the biggest groups out there, but there are a lot of secret organizations. They want you to believe that they're all fighting against each other and hate each other, when actuality they're buddy buddy and they know exactly what they're doing. It's pretty obvious to me now, but they want us to be divided. So, but thank you for joining me. These are just some things that I've encountered, and God has led me to. Um, I'm just All I can do is try to reveal what God has revealed to me. So thank you for joining me. Hopefully you learned some stuff. Sorry if my phone keeps moving, but I'm in my bedroom and this is my dog snoozing. But thank you. God bless you all. Good night.